Welcome, Patty. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. How are you, Sophia?
I'm good too. And to our audience, welcome to our podcast. I am Sophia and I have Patty here today with me. And we got a lot of questions on the fundamentals of Reiki. I wanted to go ahead and take today's episode to ask Patty questions about everything related to Reiki.
Yes, this is something that I feel that was more important, to get to the fundamentals and the basics, because that's so often overlooked.
Yes, and even in our practice, sometimes I feel you need to go back to your basics and get the fundamentals clarified. So starting with the most fundamental question we get is, what is Reiki?
Yes, well, it depends who you're talking to, how you're going to answer that question. If it was my 80-year-old grandmother, I would be giving a very different answer to someone who was coming as a student, someone who was coming for a session, someone who was coming because they were just going through cancer, someone who just wanted to have it for stress. It's because it's many different things to many different people, the effects. So I think what is Reiki is a very loaded question. And I say it's loaded because what are the effects of Reiki? What can it do for me? What is its benefits? But what actually is it?
Yeah, so for somebody who's never done it and they want to come and say, okay, I want to experience it, but can you tell me what it is?
That's it. It's an experience. It's an experience, and the word Reiki is it's made up of two kanjis. Okay. And kanjis are pictograms in Japanese. And the Rei and the Ki are different. Now, if you've ever practiced yoga, you'll understand the prana when they talk about your prana. And if you've ever done any martial arts, they talk about the chi.
Yes. So,
and then there's the ki. So it's all really the same thing, and it's the life force. Your life force. Now, my life force depends on very many different factors, or the person who's listening to this life force, because we're all made up of different subtle things that make us react. We have different biology of our beliefs.
Yes.
So I could turn around and say to you, oh, your life force energy is going to be so improved by doing yoga. And you're like, well, I'm finding that my life force energy is so much more improved doing Taekwondo.
Yeah.
You have to gravitate towards the things that make you who you are. Even your life force is what you are sustained by. Now, I say that food-wise, but then you also have people who become, that food becomes the enemy.
Yeah.
And they start to police themselves with food, with this neurosis of what am I eating?
Yeah.
Rather than having this, what is it that my body wants to choose for substance, for nutrition, for energy, to give myself more vitality? What supplement in Ayurveda, in vitamin, or what is it I feel that I need more of? Do I need more fish oil? Do I need more? So all of these things is the key. And the kanji actually is an actual pot, a metal pot. So you have the 5 elements on top of a fire. So you have the metal pot filled with water and filled with rice, and it's boiling. So you have the water, you have the fire, you have the wood, and you have the air and the earth. All the elements. The rice has been in the paddy field with the water, and it's come from the earth, and you're eating it, and it's all these elements that make up this food that gives us our fuel.
Yeah.
Now, that's very, very important to understand even the basics of, because human beings actually change quite dramatically by the cooking of food, because animals have to graze all day to have the energy that they have. So they spend most of their day grazing and eating.
Yeah.
We, on the other hand, learned to cook our food that gave us the energy to store in our cells to be able to do other things.
Yes.
And not have to graze all day for the energy. So we could build our houses and we could build stuff and we could paint, we could go dancing and we could do all of these things because we learned certain things about food.
We experience consciousness on a more evolved state because we are now free from the food.
Yes, we're now free from grazing.
Grazing, yes.
Graze anymore. You know, with that, the life force is what thoughts are giving me life force.
Yeah,
you know, if my thoughts are always that I'm not enough or I'm a loser or I'm just a fraud, which let me tell you is a lot of people. They might not know it on a conscious level, but the subconscious is running that program that then you can see by behaviors.
And it's either adding the life force or taking the life force from us.
I would say draining the life force rather than taking away. I think it drains it. I think it leaks it.
Yeah.
And that's what they say with depression. It's a lack of vitality. You know, you can't even wash yourself. You can't even get out of bed. You can't even think of getting in the shower. You can't even the thought of going to the bathroom. That's a lack of vital energy.
Yes.
And vitality that creeps in little by little. Like someone doesn't wake up morning and say, oh, I'm depressed.
No.
It happens over a period of time with grains of sand or a dripping and dripping and dripping. And then they wake up and they're like, I think there's something wrong because I can't get out of bed and I don't want to get out of bed and I can't even wash. I haven't washed for 3 days, you know, it's quite horrific.
It is.
That's a lack of vitality.
Yeah.
Now, the REI, R-E-I, is spiritual conscious life force or energy. Spiritual conscious energy. Now, what is spiritual conscious energy? Now, if I ask someone in India what is spiritual conscious energy, they're going to have a very different connection to say someone I asked, maybe it's the First Peoples of America, what is spiritual conscious energy? Or I ask someone who is a Los Angelino, or I ask someone who's in Tennessee, or I ask someone who's South American. We have all different ways of connecting to spiritual conscious energy.
We name it differently, we visualize it differently.
Because spirit is what you connect to. Now, I could go to the Lakma, and which I have done, and I experience spiritual conscious energy when I'm in the James Turrell perception cell.
Yeah. It connects.
Exactly. I could go into a temple and I could, like the Malibu temple, and be in a ceremony there and experience spiritual conscious energy. I could be hiking up in Ojai and experience a moment of spiritual conscious energy. I could have a moment where I'm chanting at a Krishna Das concert and I'm in spiritual conscious energy. I could be at the beach and have a connection with spiritual conscious energy. And it is the subtle energy that is the fabric that goes through everything that we miss.
And the more you connect and experience to the spiritual conscious energy,
I guess finding all the ways to do it.
Yeah.
I can go to my yoga class and I could connect. Well, that's what yoga is. Yoga is yoking with the divine. That is what it's all about. It's about yoking. It's about union. Of course, I can experience spiritual conscious energy there, and that spiritual conscious energy could be me lying in pigeon and pose, and all of a sudden bursting out crying.
Yeah.
Or it could be me having a release with taking a huge breath and letting it go, whatever that thing is that I'm letting go. So when we talk about what's the experience of Reiki, I could be like, oh, I'm talking to someone who is over at UCLA and I'm like, oh, it's the biophoton emission between one organic species and another. It's that radiance energy in physics. It's that channeling of energy. To my grandmother, it was just going to make you feel good. It was going to make you feel renewed.
Renewed, rejuvenated.
It was going to give you a feeling of stillness.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to allow you to just go really, really deep and not think.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say to me, what is Reiki? It is different things to different people. Someone can come to me with a back pain problem,
mm-hmm.
and it's nothing to do with their back pain. It's because they feel not supported.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the Reiki going to do? You're going to get in not feel anything in the back, and then all of a sudden you get the shift. I remember years ago my experience with my Reiki master, and I was in a place in my life that there wasn't a lot of laughter in my life.
Uh-huh.
My father was clinically depressed. My mother had a tumor the size of a bowling ball. One was in one hospital and one was in the other. And obviously I was brought up with energy work and metaphysics all my life, but I knew I needed to have something that was more formal, more formally taught. And because I knew how to be with this energy, but I needed something else that was going to be my teacher, my Reiki master, and I was open to it being any kind of healing.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I really gravitated towards Reiki because it was probably the most world recognized modality at the time, or healing, treatment. And I wanted that because I'd already been in the world where what I was doing didn't have a name. So I was free, but I wanted something that had more form and structure.
Mm-hmm.
So I met a few Reiki masters, and then I met my teacher, and she did a session on me. Now remember, there's not a lot of laughter in my life at this point. And I lay down, and I, at this point in my life, had a lot of back problems. And my back pain was always my conscience as well. It told me who to date, who not to date. My back would go out if someone didn't have my back. It was almost like my pendulum.
Yeah, your pendulum.
So basically I go, and all of a sudden I'm lying in the bed, and she said, what do you feel? And she makes me aware that I should be feeling something, or something should be happening. And I became aware that the middle part of my body had disappeared. That from the torso up to my hips, my spine became invisible.
Wow.
And I said, I have become aware that I can't feel my entire torso,
Mm-hmm.
that it's almost like invisible, or possibly it had just meshed in with the rest of consciousness, right? It completely atomically become one, because we're all oneness, right? And I was not separate from it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
from that space down. And then all of a sudden I let out this hysterical laugh. The kind of laugh that when you can't stop,
Yeah.
you're just grunting. Yeah. And she couldn't stop either. She started laughing because I was laughing, and it was so hysterical. And I knew I wasn't laughing at anything consciously,
Mm-hmm.
but this laughter was letting go of all the pain.
Yeah.
And that there was still laughter inside of me.
It renewed that.
Yes, and that it was there. And it was almost telling me that I would laugh again and not to despair.
Yeah.
So, and for me, that was like, not because I liked all of the Reiki masters I had met over the years. And it wasn't about whether I liked them as a person. I wasn't interested where I wanted to have tea or cake with you. I didn't need any friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to take my Reiki master hostage either.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted someone to teach me. Even if I didn't like them or I didn't get on with them, it wasn't about that for me. It was about the universe telling me, this is the teacher for you.
Yes.
So I sat up and I looked at her and I said, well, obviously you're my teacher, because she knew what was going on. So she became my teacher, and she was a new teacher. Mm-hmm. She wasn't a teacher for 20 years. She just became a Reiki master. She didn't give me any information. She didn't give me any book. She just taught me. And any questions I had, she was able to answer. And if she didn't answer them, she was like, go figure it out.
What would you recommend for somebody looking for a Reiki master? How do they choose a Reiki master?
Well, that is what I say to everybody that comes to me. Because I say, everybody's looking, and they're looking for, who do I like? And sometimes it's not about who do I like.
No.
Sometimes I go to a yoga teacher and I go to a yoga teacher maybe because I don't like her.
Yeah.
Because she's bringing something up for me that I need to clean.
And having that awareness that's what it's.
Sometimes I want to do power yoga, but power yoga is not what I need. I need to do the restorative class.
Yeah. So even if you don't like the teacher, you still go for the restorative class.
It's not about whether I like them or not. What does my body require? What are the teachings and lessons I require? You know, there's an old saying, you get the teacher you deserve.
Yeah.
And that's an Indian, because the Indian lineage of guru and student, teacher and student is very clear.
Yeah, it's a group.
You get the teacher who's going to bring up all your stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's supposed to be for you.
Yeah.
But here in the West, we seem to go for who we like. And we don't get the growth sometimes that is required with the people who we like and become chummy with. I'm friendly, but sometimes I'm not your friend.
I'm your friend. You're the teacher.
Exactly. But there's a confusion there. And that's not their fault. That's sometimes just because there's a warmth and there's a love and there's a joy.
Yeah.
But I do not hold back telling you what I need to tell you. And then, oh my goodness, you fall out with me.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's that feeling of, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to meet this person and I'm going to keep my, do I like them? Do I not like them? You know what I mean? Like you're choosing a new chum.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're waiting for that thing to drop in and if it's not there, it's not the person.
Yeah.
Because when you know, you know. People will say, but when will I know? Well, if you don't know, it's not the person.
Yeah.
Now, I always say to future students, and I meet with all students before I agree mutually.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you
to being someone,
yeah.
teaching, because it is a commitment for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes a commitment that is not an alignment also for me to be your teacher.
Yeah.
And people will say, well, are you going to be my teacher? And I'm like, well, maybe I have to think whether I want you as a student.
Yeah.
And that is unexpected because they expect me to want them all as students. I just feel I'm not the teacher for them.
Yeah. And, I feel there's a factor to it where, especially like you mentioned, the Eastern and the Western, the teacher sometimes, there's this thing where you pay the teacher so you can choose like you're shopping. And it's not the case when it comes to this work.
No.
So
when you go and meet with a Reiki master, there's an openness for both of you to walk away,
mm-hmm.
and an honesty, and like a freedom. You're completely free to say no or say yes on both sides.
Yeah,
and also for each person to ask the questions of each other. What are you looking for in a teacher? What are you not looking for? What are you, as the student, people get into, well, how long have you been doing this? My Reiki master hadn't been doing it that long, but she was the right Reiki master for me.
Mm-hmm.
So how long someone's doing it sometimes isn't the question.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the experience of, hey, maybe can you do like a 5 minute, can I come to one of your Reiki circles?
Yeah.
And actually that is the beginning of you tuning into your own knowing and your own listening to yourself and your inner listener and trusting yourself.
By experience.
Yes. Because I have a lot of students that have come to me who have been attuned elsewhere.
Yeah.
And at first they get annoyed. They get annoyed that they paid someone else and they didn't get the value that they wanted. They didn't get the whatever they didn't get, right? Mm-hmm. And they get really annoyed about it.
Yeah.
And I say to them, but you chose them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where you were at, and that was the teacher you wanted. Until you decided that you wanted more in a teacher, then you find somebody else. But at that moment, and I would like to discuss, because I was not your first teacher.
Yes, you were not.
And I know the reason why, but the audience doesn't understand it, or doesn't
Yes,
know the story of, you know, you knew me, but why you didn't, what was it that you perceived that you were, you chose another teacher who was a student of mine.
Yes. When I decided that I wanted to learn Reiki, somebody had recommended me to go for a session, and not just do a session, but actually learn the Reiki, because I was going through this post-breakup phase. So when I looked up for Reiki teachers in Los Angeles, I found, your student's website, and I did feel like there was a gentleness, and I know there's an intensity to you that not everybody can get acclimatized right away to it. Mm-hmm. So I started my Reiki sessions and teachings with your student, but even when I met you in Reiki circles, I was a little intimidated by this presence of energy. And when he decided to discontinue the teachings, I got grandfathered. But even that decision for me, I had to sit with it, like, okay, do I go to Patty? And I had talked to another Reiki master to see, after Reiki 3, if I wanted to go and become like, a teacher attunement with them. And by that time, I had done like a couple of workshops. I'd been coming to the circle. So I knew if it felt uncomfortable, that's your answer. Like that sensation of, I know this is it, but there's a discomfort to it. So when we talked, and I was like, I know this is where I need to be. And then that's how, we said yes to each other for that.
Yes.
Yeah. So to begin with, I needed like that gentleness,
yes.
To ease into it.
That's what you have to trust.
Yeah.
That's what you have to trust. There's people that are, and it's not about personality, it's about just alignment.
Yeah.
Who are you aligning with?
Yes.
That feels, you might need somebody to kick your ass. Yeah. You might need someone to be more direct with you. You may need someone who is a little gentler. You may need someone that is a little calmer. You may need someone that is a Buddhist.
Yeah.
Does Reiki. You may need someone that is a martial artist that does Reiki. You may need someone who, it's what you feel aligned with, and just trust that.
Yeah, and I was glad that it was still part of the Pause and Joy community, because the books were written by you, and as we started reading them, it started bringing an awareness of how to identify with your ego, and just going into the different attunements. And then that expanded, and just coming into the Reiki circles got me almost like, acclimatized to your energy of who you are. So yes.
And your energy is your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a frequency that if it's not for you, it's not for you. You'll find the frequency that is for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you will gravitate towards.
Yes.
That you can breathe in.
Yes. And even when I got the message to do like, it wasn't direct. It was like, oh, you need to go cleanse your chakras. And I didn't know what it was. And somebody else mentioned the word Reiki. And I was like, that's it. Like somewhere you knew that's like you said, that's what you gravitate to. And It wasn't like, because you have pranic healing, you have so many other modalities that address the chakras, but it was the Reiki that kind of lit up some part of my brain.
Yes.
How has Reiki integrated with the Pause and Joy philosophy over time?
Well, the Reiki and the spiritual conscious energy and that life force energy is very connected to joy. And actually the duality of the higher self and the ego working in unity towards what joy is. And I go into that more in the journey with Pause and Joy. And there's very specific levels that are dedicated to receiving, allowing, creating, collaborating, and giving the world more joy. And what is joy? And that's what we do even with our 100 days in joy, to really bring forward that frequency, because what you focus on in physics, the observer effect, it becomes your reality. So if I'm focusing every day of how can I enjoy my day more, how can I experience more joy, then that is creating my reality,
And
rather than waiting for whatever my day is going to bring me.
And Reiki is renewing that life force energy to
Well,
experience.
it's tuning me in quicker. I'm attuned to the joy.
You're synced in.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Patty. This was so much joy learning about the depths of different questions that we get about Reiki, and I'm looking forward for our audience to enjoy this podcast. And if they have any more questions, audience, please send us in about Reiki. We'd be happy to answer that. And thank you again for all the responses and the loving things that you've said. I got a sweet little note from somebody last week saying how much they enjoy the podcast and they look forward to it. So thank you for that.
Fantastic. I'm so pleased. It's always nice to get feedback. And I received a beautiful card from, I don't know if I mentioned this in another podcast, but if not, I'll mention it again because who cares? From a lovely lady down in Cairn in Australia. And she is called, if you want to follow her, the Joy Sprinkler.
Mm-hmm.
And she healed herself from stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
And she really realized the importance of joy. And if you want to hear about how joy came into the pause, because when I was teaching pause, it was all about the Reiki and the EFT. And connecting us and getting rid of our stuff to really kind of clear all the stuff away to, get to a place of stillness. But then the joy came in, and she told me the importance of joy for her going through her stage 4 cancer. But I want people to have that connection to joy without the prognosis.
Huh.
I want people to
not have
know how important joy is without having to disintegrate and decay their soul.
Yeah.
And settle.
Yeah.
So she sent me a beautiful card. I'm looking at it right now in my altar. And just saying thank you for our 100 days in joy and how that much that inspired her. Because she just started doing the Joy Sprinkler, and she realized, and it was just for herself, but she felt compelled to do it, which is Spirit telling you to do it. And she basically thanked us for, just giving her that feedback to be like, oh, there's other people doing it as well and seeing this importance, so I'll just keep on doing it. So it was a confirmation to her doing her joy sprinkling. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Patty. And if you guys have any questions, again, you can contact us on our Pause and Joy Facebook page or email us at sophia@pauseandjoy.com. And thank you, Patty, again. And I look forward to the next one.
Super, me too.
Yeah.